Hey, good morning. What is going on, guys? What's happening, YouTube? My name's Johnny. You've tuned into Rules for Rebels, and today we're talking cryptocurrency and Bitcoin news. Coinbase has been ordered to give the IRS data on users who traded more than $20,000 worth of Bitcoins, or, I guess any cryptocurrency traded on Coinbase between 2013 and 2015. So any of you guys who are in the cryptocurrency space, any of you guys who kind of follow Bitcoin and cryptocurrency have probably heard something about this over the past couple months. This has been kind of an ongoing battle between Coinbase and the IRS. I know a lot of people are kind of ragging on Coinbase and giving Coinbase a hard time, like, oh, way to cave to the man, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, essentially at the end of the day, nobody can fight the IRS. I mean, look at Al Capone went down for tax evasion, not for the St. Valentine's Day massacre or murders or any of the other stuff that he did or bootlegging. Essentially anybody who's upset at Coinbase about this, really, what do you want Coinbase to do? To refuse to give the IRS info, to have their company shut down, to have CEOs and executives go to prison for, not following IRS orders, etc. Coinbase did try to fight this. I mean, at the end of the day, the IRS wins. I'm going to kind of give you guys a little bit of a rundown and a wrap up of what all's involved in this story, just for anybody who doesn't want to stick around to listen to me read the whole article. Maybe I will read through the whole article. It's not a very long one. Coinbase also has kind of a response on their blog as well. So here's basically the issue. So for quite some time now, the IRS has been saying, look, a ton of people made money. A ton of people were involved in Bitcoin between 2013 and 2015 when Bitcoin really rose in value. A lot of people were trading Bitcoins on Coinbase. A lot of people became millionaires or made a lot of money or saw gains, which would be considered capital gains. But there's a certain IRS form that you're supposed to report any cryptocurrency gains, because cryptocurrency is a commodity and a property as opposed to a currency. There's a certain way that you're supposed to file taxes on it, and I could download the form and show you guys the form, but basically there's like line items, and you're supposed to put in your cost basis, and then what you sold at and the date and your profits, and you're supposed to track the profits and pay money on the gains. I believe, I forget what capital gains are. I want to say it's 30% for short term. So if you held Bitcoin for under a year and sold it in less than a year, you'd have to pay 30%. I believe long-term capital gains for things that you've held for over a year are at 15%. So here's basically the IRS is saying, okay, Coinbase, we want all of your records because we know a lot of people made money with this Bitcoin stuff. And Coinbase said, hey, and not only Coinbase, but like people who kind of are against this overreach by the IRS say, hey, look, there may be people out there who aren't paying capital gains, but it's kind of an overreach to just go out to some private company and say, hey, we think we don't have any proof, we don't have any probable cause, but we think a lot of people probably didn't pay their taxes, so you need to turn over all your records on everybody. So this has been going back and forth. We'll just kind of skim the article here really quickly. So basically who this is going to affect: if users who had more than $20,000 in annual transactions on the platform between 2013 and 2015. So I suppose that would be if you traded more than 20,000. So that means buys, sells, sends, and receives. If you did over 20,000 in a year, in either 2013, 2014, or 2015, Coinbase will be turning your info over to the IRS. Now keep in mind, just because you traded over $20,000 in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency doesn't mean that you saw gains. I mean, I have some stupid friends who are really poor traders. If I buy $10,000 worth of Bitcoins, and then I sell that $10,000 worth of Bitcoins, that amounts to $20,000 in trades right there. And I might have lost money on that trade. So I may not actually owe gains, but I still have to report either my gains or losses, or I suppose even just my trading activity. So Coinbase is calling this a partial victory. We'll take a look at Coinbase's response on their blog in a moment here. So Coinbase is saying that they managed to kind of narrow the scope of this. So regarding so I guess this involves initially it was basically Coinbase, we want all of your records, and they didn't just want the records, they wanted like everything. They wanted usernames, passwords, logins, transaction logs, any correspondence between Coinbase and customers, etc. And they wanted it on everybody. So Coinbase has been fighting this. Apparently this is going to affect 8.9 million Coinbase transactions. And as far as users, it's going to affect 14,355 account holders. Um, let's see. Actually, no, I think it may be more than that. I think I may be misreading that. But the IRS initially requested 9 kinds of user data: complete user profiles, know your customer due diligence, so they want your IDs, your social, all that stuff, documents regarding third-party access, transaction logs, records of payments processed, correspondence between Coinbase and Coinbase users, invoice statements, records of payments. Rejecting some of those requests today, the court narrowed the scope of documents that the IRS can request from Coinbase to tax ID numbers or social security numbers, names, date of birth, addresses, and transaction logs. Now, keep in mind, this 20,000. I'm not sure why $20,000 is this magic number. Like even with PayPal, if you're selling on eBay or if you're selling stuff online, and in order for PayPal to report on you, you have to do over $20,000 in sales. But not only that, $20,000 in sales won't trigger PayPal to 1099 you. It's 20,000 in sales and over 200 transactions. So if you have 200 transactions, you normally sell $10,000 worth of stuff, PayPal isn't going to report on you. If you sell $20,000 worth of stuff, but it's only 100 transactions, PayPal's not going to report on you. But as soon as you sell $20,000 worth of stuff and have 200 transactions, Coinbase is going to file a 1099. Now, just because Coinbase doesn't report on you, PayPal, I should say, doesn't report on you, you still owe gains on any money you made through those transactions. It's just you have to self-report. PayPal isn't required to file a 1099 on your behalf unless you meet those qualifications. So I'm not sure why $20,000 seems to be this magic number for this Coinbase thing, as well as like merchant processors, but whatever it is. Just to kind of give you both sides of this. So I guess the side that argue that this should happen says, look, a lot of people are making money, people are avoiding their taxes, we need this data. The other side kind of says this is almost akin to, if I had to give an analogy, and my girlfriend tells me I'm terrible at analogies, but if I had to give an analogy, it would be like, I live in Chicago. It'd be like the Chicago Police Department says, hey, we know a lot of people in Chicago smoke weed. And they have to be getting their weed from somewhere. So we're going to go to Home Depot and get the records of everybody who's bought topsoil, and we're going to search all their houses. And, you might say, well, look, a lot of people buy topsoil for gardening or house plants. Like that's kind of an overreach. And well, people who buy topsoil, people who grow weed need to buy topsoil. So we're going to search, it's just kind of an overreach. And that's kind of what a lot of people are arguing about this whole IRS summons. So, one interesting thing that's going to come of this, I'm not sure like how much buzz this news story will get and things like that. But I think privacy coins are going to get a surge in value. Coins like Monero and Dash and Pivx and Nav and Aeon and other coins that are private, I think are going to get a bump because people, whenever people's privacy starts getting invaded, privacy becomes more important to people. And I think a couple months back when we first started kind of hearing about this Coinbase IRS battle going on, we did see Monero, rise up to 150. Dash, I think rose up to like 300 and something for the first time. So it definitely does seem to spur some interest in privacy coins. One interesting thing in terms of how a lot of people outside of the cryptocurrency space view Bitcoin, I think a lot of people think like, well, hey, isn't that the point of Bitcoin that you don't have to pay taxes? Just recently I was talking with some friends and family, just acquaintances and things like that. And anytime taxes come up and I'm like, well, yeah, I got to pay taxes on, the money I earned through Bitcoin or whatever. They're like, what? I thought the whole point of that is you could say fuck the man and not have to pay your taxes. And that kind of brings up another interesting thing. So, if you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars, there's really no way to move that kind of money around without somebody taking notice, even if you wanted to. So I know a lot of people are, well, okay, I'm going to cash out through local Bitcoins, and that way it'll be cash transactions and there won't be a record. And I see lots of other people online like, oh, what if, coming up with all these like cockamamie schemes on Reddit, like, well, what if I sell somebody a pencil for $10,000 and then I give them a free Bitcoin with the pencil? Like, then I don't have to pay taxes, right? Well, no, the IRS wants a cut of any money you make. So even if you sell a pencil, you would still have to pay the gains on that pencil. I don't think a pencil is property in the same way that Bitcoin is property. So pretty much you're really not going to get around skirting taxes or get around the IRS. It's kind of funny on Reddit. There seems to be kind of two sides. You kind of have a lot of the kind of libertarian, freedom-loving, taxes theft people who are like, that's why I got into crypto to try to cheat the man. And you have other people who are like, look, man, we're all making money. Just pay your taxes. It's not that big of a deal. It's not worth getting in trouble, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. In regards to that, I hate the government. I hate the man as much as the next guy. I think we're overtaxed. I think the government is inefficient at everything they do and wastes our money and then just wants more of it. So, I mean, I'm with you on all of that. But, I mean, at the end of the day, just pay your taxes. I see a lot of people on Reddit like, okay, I'm going to buy my coins off local Bitcoin so that there's no paper trail of it. And then I'm going to sell them on local Bitcoin. And, I see people doing all this kind of stuff to kind of be tricky or whatever. And in the grand scheme of things, typically when you buy on local Bitcoins, you're paying 10, 15, even 20% premiums for buying off an exchange, right? Like if go check the price on Coinbase and then check the price on local Bitcoins, and you'll see that people on local Bitcoins charge significantly more. So I think a lot of these people who are trying to be clever and dodge taxes and whatever else, they may wind up paying 15 or 20% to buy their Bitcoins, and another 15 or 20% later on down the road to sell their Bitcoins. So now they've paid 30 or 40% in premiums just to kind of stay off the book, so to speak. And at the end of the day, had they just paid their short-term capital gains, it would have been 30%. If they held those Bitcoins for only over a year, it would only be 15%. So I see people actually spending more money trying to avoid taxes than they would owe if they just paid their taxes. So that's kind of what's going on. I'm going to go over here to the partial victory, kind of Coinbase's response. We'll kind of read through this briefly. Coinbase obtained, and this is actually from the Coinbase blog, David Farmer, Director of Communications at Coinbase. Coinbase obtains a partial victory over the IRS. Coinbase appeared in federal court earlier this month in a continued fight with the IRS over our customers' privacy. You can read more in this blog. We are pleased to say Coinbase won a partial victory in court today. Although the court did not completely quash the government summons compelling disclosure of certain customers' records from the period of 2013 to 2015, as we requested, we were proud to accomplish two important victories for our customers. First, the government vastly narrowed the scope of its summons. The government's own lawyers noted that at the hearing that the IRS is not accustomed to having to fight for records in this context, and most companies just turn over records without ever going to court. So at least Coinbase did try to fight for people. And fight for freedom. I wasn't aware we were living in the USSA. Thanks to Coinbase's efforts, more than 480,000 customer records were preserved from disclosure. This is a 97% reduction in the number of customers impacted by this summons. Second, the quantity of data we must produce for approximately 14,000 customers who remain in the scope has been significantly reduced. In narrowing the scope of the summons, we are pleased that the court acknowledged the privacy rights at stake in this matter. Coinbase started this process more than 12 months ago, so it's been going on for over a year. And while today's result is not the complete victory we hoped for, it does represent a substantial and unprecedented victory for the industry and hundreds of thousands of customers that would have been unfairly targeted if it weren't for our actions. Although we were disappointed not to be able to entirely defeat the summons, we are proud to fight for our customers, and in the result, we were able to achieve as a small company against a large government agency. Coinbase is in the process of reviewing the order. As we proceed, we will continue to fight for our customers updated. Coinbase has millions of customers, and a narrowed summons affects approximately 14,000 of the highest transacting customers from 2 to 4 years ago. This represents less than 1% of our customer base. In the event that we ultimately produce the documents under this court order, we intend to notify impacted users in advance of any disclosure. So if you want to know if you're an affected user, Coinbase does have a reports tab if you go under tools, and you can pull a report of all your buys and sells. Now keep in mind, this isn't, in my opinion, if the IRS wants this info, they should only care about people who've sold over $20,000 in Bitcoin. As far as like wanting info from people who bought or sent money off the exchange. So let's say I buy $5,000 on Coinbase. I send that $5,000 over to my Trezor. So now I'm into it for $10,000, so to speak. I send that money back onto Coinbase because, most people say don't store your coins on an exchange. So I buy $5,000, right? I send it over to my Trezor like a good Bitcoin user. Then I say, oh, you know what? I'm going to send it back over to Coinbase. I might want to do some trading. So I send that $5,000 back over to Coinbase. Now my account's at 15,000. And then let's say when I'm like, oh, I'm up some money. I'm going to sell this. So I sell that $5,000. I'm now at $20,000. Even though I've only bought once, I've only sold once. I moved it over to my hardware wallet and back. So for anybody who thinks like this is only going to affect rich people, or oh, this, you know, the people who made millions of dollars off Bitcoin should have their info turned over, again, you could make 4 trades. I mean, you could be affected by this after 2 trades, but essentially you could do 4 trades, 2 of them being sends, and never see a penny of profit, and your info still being turned over. I think one good thing that could come of this is I think Coinbase may have to do some better reporting, the same way that Schwab or Scottrade or E-Trade or whatever broker you use, kind of at the end of the year provides you a breakdown of all your trades and profit and losses and realized gains, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, Coinbase, Bittrex, all these sites don't really have a great way of tracking that. Bittrex for the longest time has had like a profit gain calculator that's, you know, keep saying it'll be released. Coinbase, you can pull. They do have like a tax report. However, the flaw with it, and don't rely on this, the flaw with it is if you send Bitcoins from Coinbase over to a Trezor wallet or an Electrum wallet, Coinbase, the way that they report it on, they're not going to report it to the IRS like this, I don't think, but the way it shows up on your report, it shows as a sale. So if I send 10 grand over to my Trezor, or yeah, we'll say if I send $10,000 worth of Bitcoin over to my Trezor, that's going to show up as if I had sold $10,000 worth of Bitcoin. So you can't really rely completely on that. But again, if you want to pull your Coinbase records for 2013, 2014, and or 2015, add up your buys, your sells, and your sends, and if they amount to over $20,000, you probably are affected by this. Once the point, you know, so at this point it's been ordered, they have to turn it over. I imagine Coinbase may try to appeal. I mean, it's pretty much a lost cause at this point. But as soon as Coinbase does have to actually turn the data over and figures out who they need to turn over, they will be notifying customers. So you'll probably get an email or something like that. But yeah, this is kind of, I'm not going to say this is like the first regulation in the Bitcoin space, because obviously companies like Coinbase and Gemini are subject to money transmitter and money service business laws and things like that. So there is some regulation in the space, but this is kind of a big thing in the cryptocurrency community. Again, I think privacy coins are going to get a little bit of a surge in popularity and probably a surge in price after this. I know Monero was recently over $200. Dash is at like what, $733. Privacy coins are kind of on the rise already, although the whole market is up. But I think we're going to see privacy coins continue to rise even more. And Navcoin, which I made a video about a while back, I had kind of commented about how I think part of the reason that I'm bullish on Navcoin is that it's a privacy coin. It'll let you send Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies anonymously through their polymorph system. And that's kind of why I was getting into Navcoin back then as well, because I saw this coming. I kind of saw this in the cards. And I think privacy coins as a whole are going to get a bump. I know a lot of people think Navcoin is kind of a shit coin or whatever, but I'm hoping that Navcoin maybe starts to get the respect that it deserves once people start to become a little bit more concerned over their privacy. So anyhow, today is 11/30/2017. Today's Thursday. We got the Big Bang Theory episode about Bitcoin coming on tonight, so I'm sure we'll probably wake up to news of a lot of new Coinbase users signing up and a lot of new people getting involved in the Bitcoin space. I don't necessarily think it's going to cause a surge in the price, although you never know. But yeah, I thought this was pretty important news. Wanted to bring it to your guys' attention. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe. If you're not subscribed, share it on Reddit or whatever Bitcoin forums you're a member of. Let people know about this. Thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys on the next video.